Well, it's Rachel, and I'm back with the Next Step podcast. Today, I have a really special guest, Pam. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate
You're
coming
welcome.
down.
You're welcome. I'm excited to share with you some of the things that we've learned and experienced.
I am really excited to learn from you. We created some of these products with brain health in mind, and you have a lot of experience with people with brain issues. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for a living and how you interact with people who might benefit from brain nutrition?
So I consider myself a holistic nurse, a holistic care nurse. I'm a nurse.
That's amazing.
And I do holistic care, which means you look at the whole body and try to remedy what's going wrong with it without artificial means.
So give us an example of things that you use in a holistic way to treat somebody.
The number one thing we use is diet. So first thing I'll do with patients is to detox them and help them eat a clean diet. And we found a certain diet that works very well. I work with geriatric mostly because I have a private care home, and that's what I do is geriatric care. So these residents live in my home with me. So when I'm not there, I have aides that care for them. And they do very well. It's a great challenge because I don't get away too often, but when I do, I go far away so I can get a good break. But I get to live day in and day out with these people and know exactly what's going on with them. And so it's fun to remedy without medication.
Oh, how great. Tell us a little bit about the changes that you see using a holistic approach, specifically with nutrition.
Well, let me tell you about one resident, and he's still with us, and he's very interesting. So he's right forefront in my mind, and he's outstanding. This gentleman came to me 6.5 years ago. He was referred to me by a hospice. He was in another care home, but he wanted to be in a small private home. And he was on end-of-life care for Parkinson's.
Wow.
And so he came in a wheelchair.
Pretty intense patient.
Yes, tremors were extreme. He couldn't talk any longer. In order to stand him up, you'd have to pull him up, and he'd be stiff as a soldier. He couldn't bend. I mean, the buildup of lactic acid, which most people don't realize, was so severe that he couldn't move. And I realized that because I've been doing this kind of care for a long time.
So with Parkinson's, your experience and background, what's the most severe case you've seen, and was this man close to that?
He is the most severe case I've ever taken care of. I've taken care of other Parkinson's. He is the most severe. He was basically quite a healthy person, or he has been. He's still alive. He's end-of-life care for real now. But we've given him 6.5 years, and he knows that.
That's amazing.
So within 6 months, I changed his diet better. I cleaned it up. We got rid of dairy, and we eat plant-based, which is very good for elderly people.
It is.
So we eat plant-based, cleaned up his diet. We did a lot of detoxing for him with supplements, nutrition, and we start alternative care. And so we use music therapy. We use a type of massage therapy. It's called push therapy.
Wow.
That's
what does that mean?
That's an acronym for pressure under soft hands. Not the same as massage therapy. This is, they put more pressure on the joints to let off the lactic acids, and so they can move better. And it works. And it works when you combine it with the other things I've told you about.
I think you're going to have a lot of people lined up to want this sort of care and treatment.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can reverse with the right kind of care in the right environment. And so within 6 months, we had this gentleman walking by himself with a walker.
Wow. So from Parkinson's and
end-of-life care.
Yeah,
He came thinking this was the end of life. Within a year, he was singing. He was going to church every Sunday with his family, singing in the choir.
Incredible.
Singing in the choir. He just quit doing that about 3-4 months ago. It's been 6.5 years. This is end-of-life care for him. But his tremors decreased greatly. His voice, like I said, came back, obviously, in order to sing in a choir. And his mental focus and being able to tell stories, he's a very intelligent person. It just came on faster once we started these supplements last August.
So this is such an innovative approach to geriatric care.
Yeah.
Did you create this model, or
I did. I'm kind of I've kind of always been, we were raised, I was raised back east, to be very independent thinkers just by the way we were raised. We were raised on a huge dairy farm, 10,000 acre dairy farm. And so
Wow.
we grew up, milking cows and working out in the fields on tractors all day. And if there's a problem, take care of it.
You're it. You're the
You're
solution.
You're it. And so my parents helped to foster this personality, and it tends to run in all of us children. And most of us have made businesses that are not a typical model business.
That doesn't sound like a typical model, but it sounds so innovative and so important.
Well, there's a big need for it. There's a big need for it. And
do you have openings or availabilities, or how do people get into something like this? How do they, how do they access you?
I used to have a waiting list. I only take 3 patients at a time in my home because these are nursing level care. And so you're picking them up, you're moving them, and we spend a lot of one-on-one time with these residents. We don't sit them in front of the TV. We're
So
outside.
they're cared for 24/7.
Yes. We're outside almost daily. Even the winter, we take them outside unless it's really bad weather. But we just bundle them up, and we're outside. We're getting in our vitamin Ds and Cs, and they're loving it. And
oh, that's so great. Do you have a book on the horizon? Because I see this as so important.
I've been asked to do that. I just don't have time. I would love to share this. I'm wanting to help other nurses open up care homes like this.
Well, let's talk about your protocol a little bit, just because I think it is so innovative. Do you have 6 pillars of health restoration, or how do you approach it?
I don't understand that question quite.
So what are the aspects besides nutrition that you use?
Oh, okay. As far as our basics.
Yeah, your basic protocol.
Okay, yeah, maybe our philosophy. My basic philosophy is you are what you eat.
Okay, so number one and most important is nutrition.
Lots of exercise. Our old people do not sit still.
That is so amazing.
We work them out in the morning. We do if they can't move themselves, we move them for them.
Do they lift weights? Do they walk?
They have weights. The ones that can, you have to work. Your body isn't meant to sit in a chair all day and just vegetate, even at 80 and 90 years old.
So you can rehabilitate these people.
We rehabilitate these people at 80 and 75 years old. It's amazing.
What a fun thing to see.
It is wonderful to watch. It's like a gift just being able to watch these people change. And I've got to tell you this story. My younger son will die that I said this out in public. My other patient, she just passed away a few weeks ago, but she was with us 6 years. She was end of life care.
Wow.
We gave her 6 years.
Part of the family.
Yeah. She loved her. And so she didn't talk very much. She was a professor, but in her career, and she was used to being in control, a little tiny woman, and she knew I was the boss because I'm always there. My residents know I run the show. And so I was out in the backyard with my younger son who had just got home from Iraq, and I hired him to help me in the backyard. I was renovating it, and so he had the big tractor, and he was pulling out trees and cutting them up and having a good time, and it was good for him to rehabilitate with some of the PTSD he had going on, and I enjoyed having him there, and he was making some good money. Well, he's pretty buff. He's a bodybuilder. He's pretty healthy. And so he's got his shirt off working in the backyard with me, and this little resident is sitting on the porch watching him, and my aides are sitting by her, and under her breath they heard her say, she's very quiet, and she never used to talk. She said, delicious. At 87 years old.
She was restored to almost optimal health.
Her brain was pretty sharp. She knew
great.
what she was saying. And it's each of my patients, we keep logs. So when they pass away, we can give them to their families of fun things they've said and they've done.
Wow.
Remarkable things.
What a great opportunity to work with them, and for the residents to be able to really feel like they can come back to life.
Right. And so we started these 2 residents last August on Revive and Repair, because it had done so well for my son, who has the PTSD pretty bad, and I could see a big difference in him. And we also started it. My husband his family genetically has Parkinson's.
And you've seen.
And he started the little shaking. He's in his early 60s, and what a difference. I mean, and fast, within days, taking Revive and Repair,
Amazing.
you know. And with my Parkinson's patient, who's end-of-life care, and to see the difference in there has been remarkable.
That is so cool to hear. One of the main ingredients in Revive has really been studied for a lot of these, nerve disorders. So we know that it's safe for children. We know that it's safe for adults. We know that but you're finding that there is a health restoration piece to it as well.
Well, yeah, the Revive, you're talking about the creatine. It is, creatine on its own is great for Parkinson's, but because of what they put it with Revive, you get the full dose of full body rehealing and regenerating. We noticed that he was more focused. He has some anxiety about him. His anxiety was lower.
Wow, that's so great to hear.
Yeah, he does every day, he does crossword puzzles, and his tremors actually quiet, and he doesn't have real bad tremors, but he actually fills in these crossword puzzles every day by himself.
So that's really fine motor detail.
That's fine motor detail, and he has white out, and if it's not perfect, he's a professional, he's an architect by profession. He'll white that out, that little square, and he'll put that letter in there perfectly.
Which is impossible for even those of us with
he couldn't have done that a while ago.
Parkinson's some days,
right? So yeah, we've seen some great benefits from adding in this Revive and Repair for patients. So I'll be using it right along for other patients when we have them.
That's so truly amazing to hear those stories. So aside from nutrition and exercise, what's another component that you use?
A detox program.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So we know that any of these neurological diseases, not accidents, but diseases, are caused typically from something you've taken internally, and it's usually heavy metal. So it could be, typically, it's aluminum. Aluminum's not a good thing to use in your life if you want to stay away from any kind of neurological diseases. And so you want to detox from aluminum is the number one thing, heavy metals. If you're younger, you can even have your fillings replaced, which is very important to do to prevent it.
I did that.
Good girl.
It was very painful, but worth it.
So did I. And so it's also for dementia and any dementia diseases, your Alzheimer's also. And so we like to use some natural herbal supplements that help your body detox and flush.
How do you detox these aging patients? Because
they're just capsules.
So, because detoxing in and of itself is kind of violent at times.
You have to go slow, because if you go too fast, you'll actually send them really low, and because they're typically weaker, they'll have a hard time reviving. So we typically build our patients up with this good diet to get them firm, so it's a few months in. And when you start eating this plant-based diet, it's so darn healthy. You see a difference within a few weeks, even with elderly people.
Wow.
And if it's fun too, if my patients come and their family members will tell me they don't sleep at night, and I'll say yet, because if they're not sleeping at night, that means something's wrong.
Right, something's trying to
Something's
detox.
wrong, and I may not sleep myself for 6-8 weeks until I figure it out and I get them straight. But unless it's the sundowners, because that's a disease, they don't sleep at night. My patients sleep at night.
Wow.
We even had a little patient come in, and she was very enjoyable also. All my patients are enjoyable. You get to love them. They live with you. And
they're truly part of who you are.
I always ask the families to bring me pictures of when they were younger, because that's who we want to remember them by, not by these old people that have this body that's degenerating. We want to remember their younger person.
Their vibrancy.
Yes, and we want to try to revive that as much as we can. And this one little elderly woman come in, and she had kyphosis, which is a humpback, real severe, and she was in a wheelchair, couldn't walk. Very sharp mentally. Good appetite, so she didn't walk, and we couldn't get her to walk because his kyphosis was severe, but she also had a lot of digestive problems, and she was on medications for them. And
so she was probably in a lot of pain.
She was in a lot of pain. She was oxycodone, which, I do not like at all, of course. And so if I have a patient on that, we try to figure out why, and we work him off that. This little patient, I just started watching her diet, what we were feeding her, and what would cause that extreme pain. And come to find out, it was tomato sauce and pineapple, period.
So those acidic foods were not sitting well with her.
Only those acidic foods. And
Just
so
those two.
we just kept her away from those, and we were able to take away both those medications, the pain medication and both the digestive medications that were causing.
That's so innovative.
So yeah, it's
Such
simple,
a great approach.
but it takes time.
What's a typical meal for one of your patients?
Well, are you talking plant-based meals?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's what I eat too, so it's everything I love. In the morning, we love cereal or waffles and lots of fruit. So we do a lot of fiber. We don't do white grains. We don't do artificial box things. Everything is. I love to cook.
Everything's
I've always
homemade.
loved to cook. Everything's homemade.
Aw.
I'll probably be putting together a cookbook. I'm
I'm
getting
that needs
recipes
to come
together.
out.
I love to cook. I used to be a caterer. I was a food service director at one of the hospitals up in Cache Valley, and our CEO said that the patients always comment that the best part of their stay was their food because it was homemade. We made things from scratch for them. It was a small hospital. So I love food. I still love to cook, and I love to eat. I eat a lot.
And the love that goes into that definitely, makes an impression on these people that you're caring for.
So that's breakfast. I love to make homemade almond milk. We'll buy milk, but I like homemade almond milk the best. So I sprout our almonds and I dehydrate them so they're nice and flat and plump, and they have a lot more nutrition. You're able to absorb that nutrition better, and then we'll make the almond milk for them. So that's typically our breakfast. A lot of fruit and grain, either pancakes, waffles. I like cereal, and I put what's called a Kia, Q-I-A. It's a topper with lots of nuts and seeds on top, and
So
it's
lots
just
of fiber.
lots of fiber. We eat lots of fiber. And breakfast, I believe, and what I've always lived my whole life, I researched it years ago, you eat like a queen. You eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dinner like a pauper.
Love it.
So I don't often eat dinner because paupers don't either. And it's good for your body to fast.
It is. It's good to be hungry sometimes.
It's good to be hungry. 12, 16 hours of a partial fast is good for your body. And then in the morning, we typically flush. And I try to drink about a quart of lemon water in the morning to flush. You can use apple cider vinegar if you want. Plain water is better than nothing, but flush your system before you start putting food in.
And your patients like this as well?
Our patients, yes. Oh, they drink a lot of water. I don't know. It just amazes me that people say you can't get old people to drink. Yeah, you can. Sometimes we have to.
Training.
It's training. And sometimes we start out with giving them stevia, natural stevia with some flavor in it because they're used to having sugar pop drinks, and I don't buy juices. We either eat the whole fruit or I blend it in a blender.
So
and
they're really getting the good stuff.
they
they're
get
not getting
smooth.
things
They
that
get
don't need.
smoothies that are full of fruits and vegetables and protein fiber twice a day. They get big 16-ounce
Oh,
smoothies.
I want to come. It sounds like a great resort. It does. It sounds like a really healing, rejuvenating place to be at any age, and any person could benefit. I would really advise you to do that cookbook because I think
so many people want recipes, and I give my recipes away just because I love to cook. And
we might have to have you post a recipe or two on our website to share because I think that's going to be.
And another vital point of this is your staff. I go through staff until I find someone that fits. So my staff, my aides, love their job. They always tell me how much they love to come, and I feed them. They learn to cook like we do. Two of them, I have 3 aides. 2 of them eat our diet now. They've switched over to plant food just because.
Have they noticed a difference?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So fun to see that transformation.
Yeah, yeah. And so I have a lot of support from my aides because they know exactly what I want them to do, and they love doing what they're doing.
Wow.
So
perfect job. Sounds like for the
it's a
perfect
fun
person,
job.
perfect job.
It's a fun job.
So tell me, the NXTWomen supplements that you've been using, the stack, we have 1, 2, and 3, and then we have Revive. What is the most commonly used of those?
With mine in our home, we use Revive and Repair.
Okay, so that's a really good combination
Yes,
for a geriatric population.
Yes, and on top of that, like I said, my patients move, and if they can't move themselves, we do range of motion at least twice a day for them.
Wow. And in
Yeah.
repair, there is basically a multivitamin in there.
Yeah.
So they are getting.
Oh, I read labels. Believe me, my patients wouldn't be taking this if it wasn't good for them. I know.
That's so great.
You know, even my little Parkinson's patient, he doesn't walk very well anymore. He's getting to end of life care for real now. But he has a stationary bike, and he'll ride that bike even as weak as he is, 12 to 15 minutes a day. The endurance that he has, and that's next supplements. I know that is because I've had other patients,
So
and he loves doing it. He loves doing it.
And they feel like they're seeing improvements.
Yes.
They're seeing, these positive benefits from eating healthy, exercising, and taking the right supplements. So really what you're saying, Pam, is it's never too late.
It's never too late to start healthy. And I think when we started them on Revive and Repair, we saw a change within 2 days. As a matter of fact, I brought my notes, and I won't say names, of course, but we started them the second day. My aide wrote in here, so-and-so was awake and alert this morning, engaged in reading newspaper and did crossword and wrote the words in himself.
Wow. That was a first.
That was a first, that he's been able to do that. And then she said he engaged in verbal conversations. Typically, you'd have to ask him things and he'd answer you, but he engaged.
So he initiated conversation.
Yes, his mental functioning has improved within 2 days. And then the next day, another aide wrote in, has been more alert and able to eat better by himself. So he's able, his tremors had decreased more, and he was able to feed himself
to
better.
The point where he could hold his utensils and.
Yep, and rode his bike for 10 minutes. Typically, it's 8. She put in here.
Oh, that is almost miraculous.
Yeah, and so every day I highlight in yellow what my aides write, and this is a separate book that we keep just for ourselves. It's not our the one that we have to keep for legal documentation. This is just what
Those
Revive.
are just personal notes.
Yeah, so we see what Revive and Repair have done, the changes, and I have the pages just highlighted. My little patient that was in the wheelchair and doesn't move by herself, so we do range of motion twice a day with her, and then in the afternoon we do reflexology with her. And on the third day, they wrote here that, I can't find it right now. Anyways, she wrote here, my aide said, she reached both arms up to me when I leaned over to pick her up.
Wow.
She never reached out before.
So they're making those like muscle nerve connections.
She's moving herself. That means her body is changing internally in order to move her muscles and move those limbs by herself. That was amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah. Those stories are
they
incredible.
They work, you know.
So great to hear that.
Yeah.
So what piece of advice would you offer to somebody who is 70 or above, or somebody who's taking care of somebody who's over the age of 70? Like, what bit of nutrition or supplemental advice would you give?
I think what we just said, I think you need to have a clean diet.
Okay.
So in my view of a clean
clean
diet,
it up.
My view of a clean diet, and I've been doing this for 30-some years, is clean your diet. So we don't eat dairy, we don't eat meat. Mind you, I grew up on a dairy farm, so I grew up eating that stuff. We don't eat meat, we don't eat dairy, and we eat very healthy, lots of fiber, lots of fruit, vegetables, and whole grains. We don't do artificial anything.
So it really sounds more like kind of a Dean Ornish style.
Oh, there's a lot of doctors. This is big time. Plant-based food eating is big time.
It is, and it's shown that it can reverse disease states.
It can reverse diabetes, Parkinson's, you name it. It can reverse almost every disease that I've been around. I would love to see what it could do for some more severe ones. You know, even though people think this is severe, well, for me, I've done it my whole life and I've seen the changes.
So you know firsthand.
So I know firsthand you can reverse so many things. Sundowners, it was a challenge. I couldn't reverse that, but it may have been too far in, and I couldn't get her diet clean. She was just her mental ability was so far that she wouldn't eat what I wanted her to eat.
So that was a tricky one.
That she was a trick. I loved her to death, but boy was she a trick.
And then exercise. How does somebody who hasn't exercised
just get up and move,
their whole
walk,
life
just walk,
walk?
Just walk. You know, you don't have to run. You don't have to jog. Just get lightweight 3-pound weights. And if you can't walk, sit in a chair and raise your legs up and use your little weights or a can in the refrigerator and move your arms. Just move. Just keep moving.
anything.
Our body's not meant to sit in a chair all day
love
long.
that. I
At
love
any
that.
age, it's not meant to.
So it's never too late.
It's
basically,
never.
you're
It
saying.
really isn't.
And then revive and repair for those over 70. Those would be very valuable pieces.
Yeah.
To
And I don't know how well
help
they would work if you
restoration.
didn't do the basic changes.
uh-huh.
You know, where you want a lot of fluids to flush out toxins, and I'm
Right.
talking clear fluids or clean fluids. So we drink a lot of good water, but you need to flush out those toxins. You need to get that basic diet healthy. You need to move, and add in those supplements that your body needs. And revive and repair just seem to go hand in hand now. I'm glad I found them. I'm glad my son introduced me.
I'm so glad that you came today to share this information, because I think there are a lot of listeners out there who are worried or concerned about their parents, grandparents, or themselves.
There's
And
so much you can do.
we can. It's never too late. It's
And
never
you
too
know,
late.
I don't want to criticize big establishments, but in America, we don't do justice to our elderly people, putting them in big care homes. I'm sorry. I worked in a nursing home for 3 years ago when I was a new nurse, and I quit because I couldn't stand it.
So just the care and the love and the appreciation that you
Yeah,
give to them.
and if you can't take care of yourself, then go in there and make sure they're getting the care they need.
Such good advice.
Yeah.
I really appreciate all of these tips, and I
Oh,
think
good.
that we're going to have you in here for a follow-up for sure, because you're so innovative and entrepreneurial.
thank
and
you.
I appreciate everything that you've shared with
I
us.
love what I do. I love
Thanks
what I
so
do.
much, Pam.
Oh, thank you so much for your time.